So what we have here is a guy that's a coach, community leader, winemaker, car enthusiast, family man, and now he gets to add to that Hall of Famer, Dick Vermeil. Dick, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Yeah, I'm very fortunate.
What does it feel like to be introduced now at the end of that tagline of all the accomplishments in your life and professional career and personal career of Hall of Famer?
Well, I know there's so many other guys that I feel are every bit as deserving as I am. It humbles me to think they picked me before them. So I'm appreciative, I'm grateful, but I'm aware I'm going to feel a lot better when some of these other guys get in as well.
Coach, how do you prepare for that? I mean, for the rest of us, this isn't something. I mean, Jason will be in the Radio Hall of Fame someday.
Yeah,
but,
right.
But until that happens, we have to talk to people like you and find out, how do you prepare for this moment?
That is a very good question. And, I've attended meetings at the Hall of Fame, and they say, geez, we'd like to hire a speechwriter for you. We'd like to put it on a teleprompter for you and all these things. And I keep saying, no. If I can't get up there and thank people properly with my own terminology, my own bad habits, good habits of expressing myself with sincerity and humbleness, then I don't deserve the honor. That's how I feel about it. And so, I wake up in the middle of the night and I think about it. Sometimes I can't go back to sleep because of it. But I think I have an approach prepared in my own mind. They only give us 8 minutes, regardless of how many teams you've coached.
You don't get 8 minutes per team?
No, when you stop and think, exposed to friendship possibilities with 3 cities, 3 ownership teams, 3 management staffs, 3 personnel departments, 3 coaching staffs, and 3 football teams. That's a lot of people to thank.
Well, you know what, Coach? When you're done, you can come back on here and you can do a much longer speech.
Yeah, we'll allow the addendum to your speech if you want to do that.
Would allow us to later tape something and put on their website. But anyway, I feel so grateful because I know better than anybody else when they hand me the bust, okay, or I get to see it. I know there's a lot of people that constructed it for me. So many fine coaches, the Marion Campbells here and Dick Corey's, Ken Imans, and these kind of people here. Just so many fine coaches. And I go into St. Louis Rams. I've got Mike Martz, Al Saunders, Jim Hannafin, all these guys. Kansas City, Al Saunders again. Mike Solari, Greg Robinson. These kind of people. John Bunting coaching for me. Carl Harrison both coaching and playing for me. Lynn Stiles with me all 3 jobs. And fortunate for me, Carl Peterson, who was with me at UCLA and the Eagles and later the USFL Stars and Kansas City Chiefs. He's the guy that brought me back into coaching after I left the Rams. There's just so many individuals that made contributions to my career, and I'm the end product of all their contributions. I've always believed if you're a good leader, you know what you know and you know what you don't know. So you better surround yourself with really bright people. And fortunately for me, that was one of my, I think, gifts. If I had a gift, I knew who to hire, and I knew how to help them be the best they could be.
It was obviously reported you were under consideration for a Hall of Fame. Where were you when you found out? Was it a phone call? What was that moment like for you when you heard it officially the first time?
Well, I was, I've been a candidate a number of times, but this year I had just landed out in California. I was going to outwork the vineyards and, work with my people in the wine business, and I'm walking off the American Airlines flight, and my phone rings, and it's David Baker, Hall of Fame calling. And he says, Coach, David Baker calling. I'm not calling you to buy a case of wine. I let you know that you are the finalist selected for the Hall of Fame. And if a coach goes in the Hall of Fame this year, it will be you. Now, that committee presents the selected coach, me, Dick Vermeil, to a board of 48 people. And if I get 80% of the votes, I go in. Well, I got 80% of the votes, so it's me. So it startled me. I actually leaned back against the wall because I was very close to it, and I told Carol what happened. And I almost, I didn't almost faint, but I'll tell you, it weakened me. I leaned back against the wall to stable myself. Took it all in.
Did you send Mr. Baker a box of wine?
No.
No, he's got to pay for that. Come on, Jeff.
So Coach, I've been lucky enough to be out at your wine tasting room and try some of those amazing wines. One of those wines, coincidentally enough, is called 34 after your Super Bowl victory. Is there now going to be a new wine called HOF 2022?
Oh,
Yes, sir. Yes, there is. It's going to be a very, very high-end label for as a souvenir and a symbol of the Hall of Fame selection. It's coming from Beckstoffer Vineyard. It's the number one vineyard in the Napa Valley. The wines are very expensive. Beckstoffers, if they give you their grapes, they set the minimum you can sell a bottle of wine for. Okay, yeah. So we're going to make about 125 cases. It'll be rated for sale in 2024. We'll take orders for it into 22. We're working on it now. We had a conference call on it this morning for about an hour. And it's just about how we're going to do it. And it was my partner's idea in the wine world, not mine so much, but I appreciate where they're coming from, and it's going to be a fun project.
No price is too high. I'm sure we can convince Jeff to get a couple cases. Don't you worry about it. We'll throw it right on his credit card, get that over taken care of. Coach, you're gonna get to give this speech. You said you only had 8 minutes. You're known for your emotions. Are you working on how you're going to prepare yourself mentally for this, along with the words you're going to say?
I do. I think about that. I used to embarrass myself, but whenever I get deeply involved in a conversation that really includes someone or something that I'm deeply emotionally attached to, I have a tendency to tear up. Not maybe just bawl or cry, but I do tear up. And it used to embarrass me, but I got so now I just, you accept me as me. I got to be myself. And I have thought about that. I have.
It just shows how much you care about it, though. I mean, you work so hard, you want it so bad, you care so much. You let it out a little bit.
A few years back, I'm watching 60 Minutes. Barbara Walters is interviewing General Schwarzkopf, and she asked him about his emotional side. And he said, in soldiers, I never worried about those that cried. I worried about those that didn't. And that relieved me of some of the tension that I sometimes feel. I feel maybe I'm the only guy that's like this, But because I sort of have a profile that includes that as part of my profile, I have a lot of people I've never met stop me on the street and say, Coach, I'm an emotional guy just like you.
Yeah, I mean,
makes me better.
Well, Coach, I would be proud of that. I think that a lot of people, including me, find that quality endearing and show how much you care, not only about your team, but about how much your community.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I've been called a lot of names going into stadiums in pregame warm-ups because of it. I'll tell you that.
When you look at
which ones can
I
you
was
say?
Going to say, are you allowed to say any of them on the air?
It's funny. Different people.
Yeah.
When you think back on your career with the Eagles, what are you most proud of during your time here?
I think I'm most proud of the fact that we start 3 seasons with no first, second round picks, no third round pick, first or second. We get a third round pick my third year. So my first high pick was a third round pick my third year. And the third year we were in the playoffs, and they hadn't been in the playoffs in a long time. So I'm very proud of the fact that we developed a football team. We built it by hard work. We taught people that hard work wasn't a form of punishment. It was going to be our solution, our ally, that a little pain and a little fatigue is good for us. And, guys like Bill Berkey and Carl Harrison and Stan Walters and Frank LeMaster and Wilbert Montgomery, Harold Carmichael, who just went in the Hall of Fame, all these guys were good, but they all got better. And then the average player got better. Then the guy that normally wouldn't make a team because we didn't have any draft choices and there was room for him, he got so with hard work he could make a contribution. So, I take great pride in that. And someone asked me that about the other teams. All 3 of my teams, the first 2 years of the 3 teams combined, we averaged about 34% win. Okay. My third year, we averaged 73% win. I'm proud of that. I take great pride in it. So we were doing something right, And the other thing I'm proud of is that I'm the only guy in the NFL history that coaching staff and myself coached a team that was the only undefeated team left in the league that season. And we did it with the Eagles in 1981. We went 6-0. We were the only team undefeated. We went 9-0 in 2003 with the Chiefs. and we were the only team undefeated. We went 6-0 with the Rams in '99. We were the only team undefeated. So I'm proud of those kind of things that are slightly different than other coaches.
You know, Coach, one of the things that we get to hear a lot in Philadelphia is the impact that you had on the players who played from you, obviously in all three cities, but certainly in Philadelphia. Ron Jaworski once said, I can say unequivocally that any success I've had as a father, as a player, as a husband, and as a business person is directly attributable to Dick Vermeil. What was your secret sauce for the way that you coached and dealt with your players that they have such reverence for you?
Well, I think, number one, they knew I cared about them. And I really got to know them. They got to know me, the good side, the bad side, the tough side, the ornery side, the dumb side. And I was, totally honest with them. And I think they read me as authentic as I read them authentic. And I think we developed deep relationships. But you have to go to the next level to develop those deep relationships. They've got to see all sides. If you're an emotional guy, they got to see both sides of that emotion, the intense side and the passionate side. And when you go through adversity like we did here in Philadelphia, when you got the right people with you and the right people working with you, it brings you closer together. It doesn't divide you.
Sticking with the Eagles, I think I saw that you were out at OTAs. They just wrapped up this week. When you look at what the Eagles have done and the offensive line they've constructed, you see any similarities to what you tried to build with your teams?
Oh, no, it's a totally different concept for everybody today. Everybody's under the rules today that are different. You can't coach a football team like I did and we did at the Eagles and the Rams and the Chiefs. Now the union controls the amount of time you're on the practice field, the amount of time you can wear pads, the amount of double days you can have, and all these kinds of things. So it's totally different. And I think it makes it much harder to individually as a coach and a leadership team, coaching staff, to make a contribution to your team because you're working hard, because you're all held to the same standard, which to me it's almost communistic, but that's the way it is. And a lot of people are doing a great job with it. But it's more now, you better have the right players now, because you're not going to get as much time to develop them anymore. And you work more on your scheme than you do your individual. And these kind of things, I think it's in a way made the game more exciting. The players are bigger and faster. Being on there the other day with Frank LeMaster and Ron Jaworski, there's a lot of fine athletes on that field, a lot of big guys that can move, a lot of speed. I'm no expert in one practice, believe me, but I didn't see anybody who couldn't run.
Yeah, it looks a lot more like the Greatest Show on Turf team that you had in St. Louis than it does some of those other teams out there. You talk about the importance of players. The Eagles have brought in a lot of pieces around the quarterback. You're somebody who's worked with many different quarterbacks at different levels for decades. Jalen Hurts, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him this year. You're a coach. What are you telling him, and what steps does he have to take to be what this team needs?
Well, I think you take one step at a time, one day at a time. Every day you try to do something just a little bit better. You try to improve in what you didn't do well yesterday. Try to do better what you didn't do in the last game you played. I think these practice restrictions hurt the development of a quarterback. The only way a quarterback gets better is to see 11 guys on the other side of the line of scrimmage flashing all over the place. 7-on-7s can be very misleading. Very few NFL quarterbacks don't throw 80% or better in 7-on-7. Okay? But when you go 11-on-11 and it's full speed except for tackling, that changes the percentage a great deal. And I think quarterbacks are not getting enough that kind of practice time anymore to help them develop a little quicker and refine reactions. The game is a fast game. Jeez, and the players are bigger and faster. I looked at the offensive line work there the other day. Oh, they're impressive. I had a great offensive line in Kansas City, considered one of the finest offensive lines in the history of the league. Willie Rose, Hall of Fame left tackle. Will Shields, Hall of Fame right guard. Casey Wigman, a starting center, played in the Pro Bowl. Tight end, Tony Gonzalez, Hall of Fame. Left guard Brian Waters is as good as a Hall of Fame player that might end up being in it one day. We had one average player in the offensive line. So no wonder we could run the ball or score 26 touchdowns rushing. They were fine players and they were well coached by Mike Solari.
Well, Coach, you talk about coaching. You were known for your preparation, preparing so much. With the OTAs that you're talking about being cut down and the amount of practices being cut down, does that put more pressure on a coach as far as preparation when the players don't get to play as much in preseason?
Well, when I don't agree with someone coaching the game today, it doesn't mean they're wrong. But, I don't agree with the approach you can work less and get better. I've never believed there was a correlation between working less and getting better. Never have, never will. And I don't care if you're a golfer, swing less, you get worse. You play more, you get better. Football is the same way, I think, anyway. But, like, for example, here in Philadelphia, they have their approach, and I hope the heck it works. There'll be a trendsetter if it does, because I don't know anybody else taking that approach, that cut off half your OTs and don't have your mandatory training camp and all this kind of stuff. And the depth of my thinking always came from you make them better, not happy. You make them happy off the field. You make them better on the field.
Look, we go through that with our coaches right now. We're going through coaching searches.
Yeah, hey, they played well at the end of last season, and I hope it works for them. I really do. I'm pulling for them. I was fortunate to be involved in a nice dinner last week, and he and his wife were there, and really enjoyed it. Really, really.
Look, I mean, it seems like, we've talked about your relationship with the players. Despite what was a bumpy start in the media for Nick Sirianni, his players had his back the whole time, and they bought in to whatever he was doing. And that's sort of a culture that you have to create where the world goes on around you, but it's about what's going on in this locker room, right? It doesn't matter what other people are saying at that point.
You're right. You're right. And there's some phases of that I don't agree, but that doesn't make me right, And I'm like I just said earlier, I hope very much this approach works well.
We talk about the success you've had, the success that players have had under you. Some of them have been so successful they've had movies made about them now. You ever think you'd be played in 2 motion picture movies? Somebody playing your role?
Never. Gave it a thought.
Did you go and watch it? What's it like to watch somebody play you up on the screen?
Well, I've only seen Invincible one time. That was, I don't like seeing myself in a film. I don't like listening to my own interview again or reading an article where my name's in. John Wooden started me when I became head coach at UCLA with an approach to that. He said, you don't want to listen to what they say about you that's good, nor do you want to listen to what they say about that's bad. You don't want to read what's good. You don't want to read what's bad, because none of it makes a difference in winning and losing. And all it does is distract you. He said, so you just don't do it. And when I came to Philadelphia, I think about 90% of the time I did a real good job of not listening or reading to anything I was involved in after I did it or said it. So, and I have seen the Kurt Warner movie 3 times because I hosted it in 3 different cities for the producer of the movie, and I enjoyed it.
All right, so now we got to ask the question though: Dennis Quaid or Greg Kinnear, who was the better Dick Vermeil?
Well, what I appreciated that's a good question. What I appreciated with Dennis Quaid, they actually used 2 conversations almost word for word that I had with Kurt Warner. So it added authenticity to me in their desire to tell the story as it was really taking place.
All right. Well, so if there's a 3rd movie down the road with Dick Vermeil again, who in your world would you want to play?
Oh, he doesn't think about that.
My wife would say Brad Pitt.
Well done. We'll let her get her choice there.
I don't think that way. I have no idea.
Coaches,
I've been stopped in airports and asked if I was Robert Redford probably a dozen times in my lifetime. Evidently, when he was young and I was young, we looked a lot alike together. But I don't know.
That'd be a good one. That's a good one. See what your wife thinks about that, and if we can get that past her. We got as important as the Hall of Fame is, and what you've done on the field. Some of the things that you've done off the field have had more of an impact than your work on the field. Last year, we got to celebrate with you with the Conquors de Elegance. This year, it's a celebration of the snakes featuring the Shelby Cobra and the Dodge Viper. Talk to us about the event and the organization and why you're a part of it.
Well, it's a great event. I'm a car guy. My dad had a garage 25 yards behind the house. Every morning, had his breakfast and walked out, went to work, walked back in for lunch, and walked back out after dinner and worked at night most of the time. And I grew up helping, learning. And, by the time I was finished college and working as a mechanic in summer jobs, I was a journeyman mechanic going on into football. So I have great respect for people that work for their hands on automobiles. They're far more sophisticated today. It's just the technology in these cars is amazing today. But I enjoyed it. And it gave me a great background. It taught me what hard work was all about, and also taught me it made me realize that this is not what I want to do in my life. And but I have great respect for cars. I have great respect for the people that work on them, the people that design them. And the Shelby, that's a great, great story. The movie was great, and there's a documentary that you can watch. I don't know if it's Netflix or what's just outstanding, but the movie was well done and pretty factual. And it's a fascinating automobile, and it grew from a small British car, AC Bristol, that, Shelby thought, God, that might run a lot better if they could put a Ford V8 in, and it started with a Ford smaller engine, and it ended up, my gosh, with a 427, later on. So it became a very, very famous car. They're very expensive today. I've driven them. I've been involved with D.L. George Coach Works out in Cockerfield for about 12 years now, and I was out there yesterday. That's where I restored two of my dad's old race cars, and we worked on them out there. I've known people that own them, and they're very expensive, the real authentic ones, and the imitations or the replicas are beautiful cars. But I think it'll be a great show. They're also going to show the Viper, and I didn't realize that they were sort of related. And I'm interested in learning more about it, why they're considered related cars in concepts, in construction, and these kind of things. But, it'll be fun. Yeah, last year it was Corvettes. We had a nice turnout, biggest ever. Friday night we have the gala. We're pouring Vermeil wines. You want to come, get tickets. It'll be fun. We have some top-notch people there that really know cars. Me, I'm just a fan, And I'll have one of my old race cars there, my dad's 1926 Model A sprint car, with a Miller Schofield head on it for you nuts and bolt guys. You might remember that name from the old days. This car was built in 1926, but he'll be there. But it's the fifth time we've done it. Peter Brock and Chuck Cantwell, who helped establish the Shelby brand worldwide on the streets, will be there. And Roy Schoberg, known as Father Viper, will be there. So they'll have, in terms, if you're a car guy, you're going to like it. You're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, well, it's not just Dick Vermeil, and it's not just cars, but there's a cause. And the cause is what we're interested in as much as we're interested in the other stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about cool cars for kids and why you're involved in that and how people can help out, even if they don't go to the event? And by the way, just for people that are listening, we're going to be giving away 3 sets of tickets, and you can go to our website and check it out, and we'll give out tickets there.
I originally got involved with it because we have a granddaughter, 28 years old, special needs with genetic birth defects. Okay. And this money goes towards a program at CHOP. Dr. Krantz is the moderator of it. Just an outstanding man and a humble, hardworking guy for all the right reasons. And we raised maybe $150,000 or so, and it goes towards programs and research and with genetic disorders and to study why and what to do and how to handle them. It took us a year. It took our medical staff over a year to find out that our granddaughter Amy Vermeil had a problem. Today they know before they're born. That's how much they've improved their diagnosis and these kind of things. But we're hoping these kind of shows that Dr. Cranston with wrapped around Simeon Foundation Automotive Museum and Cool Cars for Kid program helps keep improving the process and maybe one day even preventing these kind of childhood disorders. So it's special to us, and my heart's in it, and that's we'll be pouring some Vermeil wine and making some money.
Well, we'll make sure to put the information out on our social accounts for people to find out how they can get tickets to the event, which is on June 25th on Saturday. There's a car corral. You can go check out the museum. I'm sure Coach will be there. Coach, we look forward to catching up with you down there at the event. We wish you congratulations on the Hall of Fame and hope you can enjoy it as much as you deserve as the induction gets forward. Thanks so much for the time, as always.
Thank you. Appreciate it. The gala is Friday night, 6 to 10. And, of course, the Conquors then is the next day, Saturday, from 10 to 3. the galas. And you'll have a dinner and wines, and it'll be some interviews and autograph signing from these famous car people. It'll be a nice evening. The Simeone Foundation, to me, the Automotive Museum there, is the best kept secret in Philadelphia. It's 6825 Norwich Drive in Philadelphia. It's amazing what's in that place. I think it's one of the best auto museums in the world, not just Philadelphia. It is amazing.
Yeah, for our listeners who haven't been, it's right by the airport. I didn't know it was there for the longest time. It was so cool getting to go take a tour last year of it. So recommend our listeners go by, support the Simeone Foundation, support this wonderful cause, and come out and see Coach.
Yeah, well, I tell you, it's easy to get lost over there. Put it in your GPS, 6825 Norwich Drive, Philadelphia.
Thank you.
It's by the airport, but airport's easier to find. Okay.
Thank you so much, Coach. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a nice weekend.
You take it easy.